Hey guys, welcome back to the garage, and it's week 4 of the 280Z rebuild. It's really hot this week with temperatures going above 100 degrees with high humidity in Raleigh. I'd love to wait out this week and get back to it when it gets a bit cooler, but I'm even more eager to continue making progress on the disassembly because this is going a little bit slower than I thought it would, so we'll keep on moving. As usual, I'm starting out by cleaning up the garage a bit. I am a big neat freak and I can't get myself to focus if it's a mess in the garage. And since I got some crap for leaving the engine on the hoist from the last video, I am building a quick 2x4 stand to get it off. I'll need a hoist for something else today anyway, so I may as well do it now. By the way guys, I'm still thinking through what engine is going back in the car. Don't get me wrong, I love the L28 and I've gotten it to run pretty well, but I am looking for a new challenge. So I have no idea what's going back in, but chances are slim that it's the same L28. After just 1 hour, I'm drenched in sweat. It's like a sauna in here. And since many of you guys appreciated the rather random classical music last time with the subtitles, I'll keep that going. And our first GoFundMe shoutouts are at the end, so please stick around for that. I'm so happy that I have some people to shout out. So with that, let's get going. As I'm pulling up this moldy layer, I wasn't really sure what to expect. I knew it wasn't going to be pristine from looking up at the floor pans from below, but I guess I just had my fingers crossed. Looking from above, it didn't look great. There are several areas in which the rust had eaten all the way through, and now I don't want to be overly dramatic here. This floor pan is in much better shape than a lot of other Zs that I've seen. I'm a bit bummed out though, since it's a bit worse than I thought it was going to be, and there looks like there's going to be a few different areas that need to be cut out and welded back in with a fresh patch. Or, given the condition of the frame rail underneath, it may just make more sense to cut out the entire thing. It's not a big deal. I'm just going to go take a shower and get a fresh start in the morning. So the next day, instead of getting straight to work, I decided to drive across town to visit someone who reached out to me through the channel. I'm not going to mention his name or username in case he doesn't want me to share it, but he did mention that he was also undertaking a frame-up restoration in the Raleigh area. So he sent me some photos over text of his project, and I just had to go see it. When I got there, he was slaving away with a wire wheel. He had built a rotisserie out of 2 engine stands, which I thought was pretty clever. So we chatted for a while, and he mentioned that his Z was bought new in 1971 for his late father by his grandfather, and it was left to him recently. He was undertaking a full restoration even though it'd be his first time doing something like this, and I love stories like that. His Z probably means more to him than I can ever imagine. Well, if you're watching, best of luck to you, man, and we'll keep in touch for sure. After I came back, I went out and found a cheap storage unit to hold all the parts and body panels that are coming out of the car. And like I mentioned before, I can't seem to work or focus in a workspace that is really cluttered. So I went out and found a 5x10 drive-up storage unit to stash things that I knew I wasn't going to touch for a while. In fact, I found a bunch of storage units within a few miles of where I live, pretty much all with the first month is free move-in specials. So I'll probably switch around storage units every couple of months just to keep the costs low, but the monthly rate is less than $50 anyway, so I guess it's not too expensive. Now I'm getting to the work on the driver's side, and I'm just going through the same steps as the passenger side, so I'll just let the video roll. I'm so glad I worked on the passenger side first because I was expecting something similar on this side, so I was very pleasantly surprised to find out that there are really zero rust issues on the driver's side. Just no holes, just a tiny bit of surface rust here and there. This made me feel so much better. I honestly couldn't tell you if I'm supposed to be removing the center console before the dash. I assume from the terrible audio installation job, the center console was already disconnected and ripped from the dash. There were only 3 screws holding it in the storage compartment of the center console. There were quite a lot of connections to power the various switches, so I took a bunch of pictures before I disconnected any plugs or cut any wires. There really was no shortage of shoddy wiring work. The center console is so cracked, busted, and bent out of shape, I doubt this is even recoverable. I can pay to have a replacement one, but I'm wondering if it's even necessary to have this thing. I think this is the first week in which I really felt like I crossed a point of no return. There were so many parts that are coming out that were just barely holding on, and each time I pull out a twisted piece of plastic or a rusty piece of metal, I'm constantly wondering if this really needs to go back. For instance, do the seatbelts really need to go back, or should I just go with harnesses? They were barely functional anyway. What about all the switches? And do I really need a e-brake light? And I think the answer to most of those questions are no, they're not going back. It'd be different if I was undertaking a faithful restoration, but that's not really what this is about. For this car, I think it simply doesn't make sense from both a cost and time perspective for me to replace or restore all of those outdated components that are, at the end of the day, optional. And that's why I chose to call this a rebuild, not a restoration. Call it a resto mod if you want. So that concludes this week's episode, but now it's time to do our very first round of GoFundMe shoutouts. And honestly, I'm just so happy that I get to do this, that some people actually donated. And by the way, I admit, if you left your name and or username public in the GoFundMe page, I assume it's okay for me to call out your names here. If you chose to be anonymous, then I won't share your names. So first up, you have Matthew Lowell, aka SpeedDemon636, who was our very first donator with a $50 donation. So you have no idea like how I reacted to the very first donation. I was like 50% sure that no one was going to donate, and I made a whole video and made an ass out of myself for nothing. So when I saw that notification, I was so relieved. So thank you for busting out your credit card really late at night to be our first donor. And I also really appreciate your words. It means a lot to me that you understand how much work goes into just shooting and editing and how much time I spend doing this. So thank you. So second up is Darshan Singh, aka Darshan Singh. Can't believe that username was available. You donated $5, and thanks for being the second donor. Every little bit helps, so it still means a ton to me. You mentioned that you're not in a situation where you can work on your own cars right now, so you're just living through the work that I show in my channel. And man, I feel that. I lived in apartments for like 10 years after I left my parents' house, and I remember just being itching to be able to work on cars again. So it took a while, and I hope that it happens soon for you as well. So best of luck to you. Third is Hunter White, aka Newfound, for a whopping $100. Thanks for being so generous, man. It sounds like you live pretty close by. You mentioned that you live about an hour away. Would love to come out and meet you sometime. You also mentioned that you may have a lead on a L28ET near your area, in which case I will drive out there, have you hook me up with that engine, and get a chance to meet you. So let's keep in touch. Thanks again. The next two people who donated $50 each chose to be anonymous on GoFundMe, so again, I won't say their names, but thank you both so much for leaving kind and encouraging words. I really appreciate it. And thanks for supporting the channel. The world wouldn't go around if it weren't for people like you. And that concludes our first round of GoFundMe shoutouts, and if I didn't catch you this time, I will for sure catch you the next time. So stay tuned. See you guys next time.